Okay, everybody, this is Sheets, and we're going to try something today. We're going to try to build my hockey lineups, or at least my core. Um, and I'm not going to be able to put a full lineup out because, of DraftKings, but I think we could at least go through process and put a core out there. And what I think is interesting about the way I'm doing it is that I haven't even looked at all to construction. I literally did my projections and I tweaked that. And I'm just going to show you exactly what I would do and see, number one, if it's a playable slate, and number two, if, how I would build this. So there's a lot of disclaimers here. There's some goalies we don't know if they're starting, some, ownerships are not completely done yet. Okay. But so this is literally the way I'm going to do it. So I'm ranking my guys based on my value system. Okay. And what I want to do is I want to find guys that are from the same team, that rate in the top, whatever. Okay. The other thing I would like to do is get goalies, kind of the cheapest goalie that I can get that's reasonable. So the first thing I want to do, should I do the goalie first? No, let's not do the goalie first. Let's just do this. So let's just eyeball this for a second. Okay. Let's look at, say, the top 21 guys. And I see that there's just a whole bunch of guys from Edmonton in there, okay? Which certainly makes a lot of sense. They're probably the top players and they're probably the most expensive. So the first thing I would love to do is see if I can't get like a bunch of these Edmonton guys kind of together. And you see that Daniel Nurse is also Edmonton. So of these, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Edmontons in here. And the first thing I want to do is, before I even try to put those in a lineup, is just make sure that they kind of are in the same lines, or at least close to it, right? I think they all are, but let me just take a look. So again, I have another side up, so I can't really show you this. But McDavid is first line. Draisaitl is the first line. Tyson Barrie is not. Tyson Barrie is, yes, he's in the first line. And then and Ryan Nugent-Hopkins and Daniel Nurse. So let me look at that. Daniel Nurse is in the first line, second power play line. And Ryan Nugent-Hopkins is second line, but in the first power play line. So close enough. I mean, they're either on the same lines or in the same power play lines. So yeah, it would be nice to be able to get all those guys in, but I'm pretty sure we're not going to be able to afford it. But we're going to try. And the other thing I notice from this is that you have 4 guys from Carolina. Okay. So what I would love to do, if that's possible, is to get both them in, like Edmonton and Carolina, or use Edmonton, maybe, if I could, maybe 5 of them, and then a couple of the Carolina or something like that. Then the other thing I look at, though, is I'm already like just eyeing my one-off here, and I see that I have 2. See, here I have Bouvillier, who ranks as one of my top one-offs. Then I also see really close to that are these 2 other Islanders. So I might actually consider the Islanders with Bouvillier as being a secondary, or maybe a 3-man stack. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to look at that and see if they correlate. Because if they don't, then I probably will just go with Bouvillier as a one-off. But Bouvillier is second line, but first power play line. Let me see, Brock Nelson. Brock Nelson is second line, but first power play line. That's good. Then who is that I said? That was Nelson. And we're going to look at Dobson and Barzal. Barzal is first line, but third power play line. But that's okay. We can use him. And then, what did I say? Dobson. Dobson is third line, first power play line. Okay. So what I'd like to do is put the power play guys together. So this is going to be what I do. I mean, I'm going to either play like a bunch of these Carolina guys together, these Islander guys together, or these Tampa guys together. And then the other thing that I will note is that you do have a really cheap one-off here that can make a lot of this work. This Niels Hoglander, he rates as like my 5th best value, and he's only 3,300. I don't think now if he's in the same line again with say JT Miller, then maybe I'll do some business over there. So JT Miller's first line, and then who did I say? Niels Hoglander as a wing. He's the first line. So what's interesting about that is Vancouver plays Edmonton. So maybe we could do like a full, Edmonton with Vancouver game stack using, say, Miller or Hoglander, and then, well, let's get down to Horvath. What's he? So Horvath is, let's see what line he's on. Second line, but first power play line. Okay, so that works. So what, you could do Edmonton with 3 of these Vancouver guys or 2 of them. Islanders are so this is kind of where I'm going. Should I try to build one of these? Let me try over here. Let me see what I was going to do. So let me first do it with just show you how expensive this can be. Let me show you with the Edmontons. So if I was going to play the Edmontons, and let's just say, and this is never going to work, but let's just say I played McDavid, Draisaitl, the Tyson Barrie at defense. Let's say even if we were only going to go 3, it's pretty expensive. I mean, just to show you. Well, we're not going to put a goalie in yet. But let's see, maybe we compare that with some of these others. So want to do the Vancouver one first? Yeah, let's do the Vancouver one first since it's from the same game. So who did we say? We had JT Miller. We had Niels Hoglander, right? So he's really cheap and might actually make this work. And who was the third Vancouver guy that I said? I said Bo Horvath. So if I put him in the utility, for example, you could actually make this work. Maybe we could even put in another Edmonton guy. Like, could we get in that other, who is it, Nugent Hopkins? Boy, that seems pretty expensive, but let's just see. I mean, for the sake of argument. No, because we're going to need a goalie. Even like the cheapest goalie is going to be like $7K. I mean, just to give you an idea, let's just pick somebody, let's do this. So even if we did this, if we didn't even put that third expensive, a 4th Edmonton guy in, we're still looking at 3,300 a player. And then you like really in the bottom of the barrel with respect to value. But what you could do, I mean, I'm just looking at my board here. I'm going to take this out. So let's take these guys out for a second. And let's see what it looks like with these Islanders instead. So let's start with the Islanders. We'll put in Islanders. Uvelier at the wing. Brock Nelson at center, who's cheap. And then Noah Dobson and Barzal. Well, let's just start with Dobson, okay, because he's very cheap and could make a lot of this other stuff work. So if you started with these guys instead of the Vancouvers, like for example, maybe just maybe you can jam that in, right? I always got to keep a couple empty, right? Can't quite get to Nurse, right? Because then Can't quite get to Nurse, but maybe, just maybe, you can get to Barry. It's possible. We'll leave 2 spots open, maybe make them happy. Can't quite do it though, right? Even if you use these Islanders, can't quite do it. What you'd have to do is find 2, and I'm just like throwing in a random goalie just to show you. Right? Then you'd have to play 2 3K punts. But one of them we liked, right? We liked the Dobson from the Islanders, right? Well, let's get rid of him. Be 47.50 a man, you can make work. Okay, so you could play Edmonton with the Islanders if you wanted to do that. Okay. Now the thing that I'm curious about is how cool would it be if you didn't play Edmonton? Like, could you get both the Carolinas and the and like the Vancouvers in, for example? So let me pull up the Carolinas that I liked again. So we liked was it Aho? It actually wasn't Aho. It was Trocheck and Stahl. So let's Trocheck, Stahl. Who are the other guys? Defense Hamilton, and then Svechnikov, right? Is there a 5th? No. And Aho coming off of a hat trick last night. It's probably a good fade. So then again, let's just put in a rando goalie, right? Just eat up some salary. And then I wonder if you could play the Vancouvers that we talked about before. Remember, you had this guy really, really cheap, Hoglander. So if Hoglander is cheap, then you could play, who are the other guys I said? JT Miller. And then the other one was Horvath. So that was really, it was more of a one-off to play these guys. So you don't really gain too much by trying to stack Vancouver. It's probably going to be better off just using that as kind of a one-off. But if you used Carolina, like for example, you can play 2 of these guys. And if you play 2 of these guys, then you might be able to do some funny business, like maybe like a one-off from the Edmonton game. Like, I don't think you'll be able to play McDavid, right? But you could probably play Draisaitl if you want to do that. And then you'd have to find a decent defenseman, whatever it is. But that's what I'm going to be doing, is I'm going to be trying to find combinations that work just based on taking the top guys, from my board. And that's what's been working for me, and that's what I'm going to keep doing. Again, I hope I did enough to show you how I'm doing stuff and help you with your process without giving away actual lines. I actually don't know what I'm playing yet, so I didn't fill out everything in completion. So that would be the hockey for tonight. And again, you always have to look to see late scratches and things like that. But that's the process I've adopted to make this work. And again, we don't know ownership yet. All you see, it's no surprise that a lot of the guys that I mentioned are going to be at the top of the ownership tree. So you have to factor that in also. But that's about it. Talk to you guys later.